This video was made possible thanks to my amazing patrons at patreon.com/magicalhacker. If you're not a patron and you would like me to make a video for you each month using your decks, become a patron today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavony Township, the show where it's not about me and my decks, it is about you and your decks, whether you're a content creator that I'm collaborating with, someone who has won one of my Twitter or YouTube giveaways, or whether you're a patron of mine at patreon.com/magicalhacker. For today's episode, we've got another patron who submitted a deck for me to do a deck doctor on, and I'm excited to do this one. This is another one submitted by Casey Spark. This one is another, also one of those decks where it's just one commander and the deck is empty. I love doing these types of deck doctors because it gives me a lot of freedom just to add in cards. Of course, I do also like the other deck doctors where I do get a full 100 card deck and I make some additions, make some changes to improve the deck. Or when someone gives me a deck that's like over 100 cards and I have to cut it down to 100 just removing cards. Those are always great and I enjoy doing those for sure. But I like this one as well. So we're going to jump into talking about Sarulf Realm Eater. Again, patron of mine, Casey Spark, who has submitted this deck. Really excited. We're also doing something a little bit different. You'll notice here on the left side of the screen, I've got my phone connected to my computer to try to use that for searching on Scryfall as opposed to using my browser. There's some issues in the past with the screen lagging and it was a mess. So we're gonna try this, see if this works better, and if it works worse, we're gonna go back to what we had before. But I've got that here to try out on this one. All right, so let's take a look at Sarulf Realm Eater. 3 mana for a legendary 3/3 wolf that says, whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarulf Realm Eater. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Sarulf has one or more +1/+1 counters on it, you remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. So you can build Sarulf a lot of different ways. I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of hard to build around, right? Because you could build around the first one, trying to put a bunch of things into opponent's graveyard, using stuff like Grave Pact and Dictative Erebos, making everybody sacrifice things. You can make Sarulf pretty big, but no evasion of blockers, no evasion of spot removal. It doesn't really feel that great to build a strictly worse Voltron deck using Sarulf, trying to destroy other opponents' things or make them sacrifice it. So I figured, okay, the first ability, not that great. Doesn't seem that worth it to build around. Second ability here, a little bit weird. It kind of hurts us because if we have any non-land permanents, when we do remove our counters from our creature, we're also going to get rid of our own permanents. So would we ever want to do that? Not really. So how do you build around it? And I think that's the big question. That's probably why Casey Spark said, hey, I want you to take a shot at this one. Tell me what you can do. So we're looking at that second ability, and I'm thinking, okay, so permanents seems like a bad idea. Well, what about a deck that has all non-permanents, right? What if we just do instants and sorceries? And that would work with Sarulf. We can also kind of dip into a few permanents in terms of cards that will allow us to sacrifice them, or they have an ETB effect, and that's pretty much the main thing that they do. So I like all those ideas with Sarulf. But it is at the upkeep. So if we're trying to go for something along the lines of sacrificing all of our permanents, we could end up bringing them all back, but we don't have white. White is like one of the main things that allows us to bring everything that dies back to the battlefield. So trying to unveil this or like unwrap this, I think the way I would do Sarulf is I would say, look, we're going to start off by getting all this deck to be filled with non-permanents. And those non-permanents can be control elements. They could be making opponents sacrifice things. We could also be trying to use them to make them discard cards, even though it won't trigger the first ability. I think destroying and sacrificing will be kind of our main two things to go to. We can make Sarulf pretty big, and if something comes down that we can't get rid of, we also have the plan B of just removing all those counters off of Sarulf and dealing with the board just instantly. But it also gives us room to play some combat tricks, so we can play things that can give hexproof to Sarulf at instant speed. We can give trample or fear or flying to Sarulf at instant speed. That way we can attack with it, make sure that it doesn't get blocked. We can make him pretty big. We can use hatred, right? Make this into a lethal threat when it's attacking. So a lot of great things we can do with Sarulf if we're going more of the instant speed kind of combat trick-ish style deck. We're playing a lot of instants and sorceries and very, very low on the permanents. Or rather the non-land permanents. I think that's the best way to build Sarulf. A very weird type of deck, very hard to build around as a commander, but I think this could be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to start by talking about the land. So we've got one commander in the command zone. my trick for remembering how many lands to play in a deck is you just take the number 37 and subtract how many cards are in your command zone. So if you have partners, you're going to have 35 lands. We only have one commander here, so it's going to be 36. Pretty simple. In terms of how many cards I'd like to play, I'd like to play 12 basics. So we're going to start off with just 6 of each of the swamps and 6 forests. So that's where I'd like to start off for right now. So let's look up swamp, get some of those in here as well. And I may end up having to do, let's do this. Swamp basic. And then I'll definitely go here to quantity of ones that I actually own. I don't have a Sarulf in my collection, so I had to put it to no cards in my collection there. But let's go ahead and try this, and I'll put it up to at least 6, because we're going to add in 6 cards. Is there a reason to play snow-covered lands? Not yet, so we won't add those in to the deck until we actually find a reason to include it. But we're going to start off with 6 basic swamps, and then we're going to go for 6 basic forests. So that's going to be a good place to start, I think. Let's go ahead and add in the regular forests. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we've got the basics, literally. We're going to go ahead and jump into what other things can be part of the mana base without actually being lands. So I do like Soul Ring. That's always a card that I include as part of the mana base, because if you top deck it and you don't need the land, then it's going to feel like you're top decking the land. It's going to feel the same. If you got it in your opening hand, it's like, it's not really a land, but it counts as one. So really, anytime you're drawing into the Soul Ring, it's going to feel like it's a land, basically, but it's just a lot better. So we're going to include that as one of the cards here for this deck as well. We want to include, I like Expedition Map. That's one I'm a big fan of. Being able to tutor up any land is really helpful if you want to make sure that you can find things that allow you to get rid of permanents, like lands that are on the battlefield. Sometimes you want to have some recursion, and so Expedition Map can grab you a Volrath Stronghold or something along those lines as well. All right, so we've got Expedition Map. What is next? There's a lot of great green things. I like Carpet of Flowers a lot. Carpet of Flowers. And this is going to be a great way to, we can get some more ramp that way. What else can we include here? I kind of like Utopia Sprawl, right? Because that's going to be a way that we can have just 1 additional mana being produced. For 1 mana, not bad. Definitely not a bad idea. Although, now that I think about it, is Soul Ring, Expedition Map, and Carpet of Flowers even that good here? Because Sarulf would get rid of them. Maybe this is one of those decks where we actually don't want to be playing Soul Ring, because then if we ever have to use that upkeep ability, we'll be getting rid of some of our mana. Even as a ramp spell, I don't think I actually like it here. So let's just do this. We're going to get rid of the Soul Ring. We're going to get rid of the Carpet of Flowers. I do like the Expedition Map. This one is useful because we can sacrifice it and grab the lane that we need. And then afterwards, we can use Sarulf. We don't have to worry about it so much. So what else we would like to include? I do like, there's that card from Eldraine that got banned in a lot of cards. Once Upon a Time. So I like this one a lot because if we have it as our, in our opening hand, it's going to count as a land for free. But even later on, we can maybe find a creature that we want to have, or just a regular land. So we don't have to necessarily get a basic land with it. And so I like that one a lot here. That's, again, it could be free. I also like Traverse the Ulvenwald. We're not playing a lot of things that are going to put cards into our own graveyard, but we might have some lands that will go to the graveyard. We might have some instants and sorceries. After that, we only need like an artifact or something in the graveyard, and that's going to turn on Delirium for us, so I like that one a lot. In terms of anything else, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it in terms of non-lands that will count as part of the mana base. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to add in just a bunch of color-fixing lands. Now, at this point, this is something that I could kind of go into about what color-fixing lands I think would be best for a black-green deck, but everybody knows about color-fixing lands. I think those are kind of the most ubiquitous types of cards in Commander. Everybody knows about them, so instead of going into this pretty in-depth about what lands I'd include here, I'd actually just like to add in Overgrown Tomb into the deck until we feel like, you know what, that's enough. Like, we're going to just add this into the deck until we get up to 36. So we need to add in another 20 of these. So we're going to fill this up. I guess we got to keep adding it one by one. So I'll be right back here as I fill this up one by one. Just give me a second. And there I've got the 36 Overgrown Tombs, which again, these are going to be representing the color-fixing lands. But we know what I don't realize, we don't have the utility lands in here. So let's go and add a few utility lands. And I'd like to take a look here at my custom spreadsheet that I've got to keep track of things. I do like the Myriad Landscape. Let's go ahead and try that one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one here. Paste it in. Hey, oh, that didn't work. That did not work. Myriad Landscape. Let's try this. So Myriad Landscape is one that I think would be fantastic here. Allows you to color fix, but it also allows you to have some utility in there as well. So So let's go ahead and add that one into the list as well. I do see here the Oath of Nissa. That would kind of work as another way that we could have lands that we can grab. Kind of like the Once Upon a Time. It does allow us to get planeswalkers or creatures, but I don't think we're going to be grabbing any creatures off of this. And if it gets exiled, we're not really using it any other way. So in a way, this is kind of like a lay of the land that can grab a color-fixing land or a utility land for us. It's kind of random, though, so it's not going to be as perfect as what we're looking for, but still better than, I think, just a regular land. So I like the Oath of Nissa, and that's going to be our fourth non-land that's going to be counted as part of our mana base. I do like the Urborg. I do like the Cabal Coffers. Let's go and add in both of those. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Now, if you haven't seen this combo before, but I'm sure you have, this is a combo where you can make all of your lands into swamps with Urborg. And then, because all of your lands are swamps, now you can use Cabal Coffers, which is going to count up your swamps to add 1 mana for each of those swamps. You do have to pay 2 mana into it, but it's still a lot of mana. So even if you have, let's say, Urborg, Cabal Coffers, and 1 swamp out there, right? You're tapping the other 2 lands for the Cabal Coffers, and you're producing 3 mana. Cabal Coffers is going to be even at 3 mana. You add in another swamp, now you're adding 2 more mana. So essentially, after 3 lands, every land you play down, if you have both the Cabal Coffers and the Urborg out there, it's going to be as though it's producing 2 mana thanks to the Cabal Coffers. So that's a really awesome way to look at it. Well, we also got here the Strip Mine. I just like being able to have a way to get rid of lands at instant speed. As part of the mana base, it's not going to cut too much into the deck, so I like that one a lot. We'll add in the Strip Mine here as well. Scavenger Grounds, I think, is fantastic here, because we do have ways to get rid of all the permanents on the battlefield by exiling them, but being able to get rid of the graveyards as well seems pretty good for Scavenger Grounds. I do like that a lot. Continuing on, we do have the Volrath Stronghold. I don't think we're going to play a lot of creatures in here. However, if we do find that we are playing a lot, we can always come back to it. So we can skip past the white and blue. I've got here, they're called Belch lands. But let's skip past the white and blue ones to go here to the black ones. So we've got Agadine's Awakening. We're not going to be using that one too much. I do like Hagra Mauling. So this is going to be a good utility land. It's going to count as a land because we can always play it as a backside. But if we ever need to cast it as an instant here on the front side, we have that as an option as well. So let's go and add that into the deck also. This Rogue, not that interested in that one. Malakir Rebirth, it's not that great because we lose all the counters on the Sarulf. So I'd like to have more instant speed things that will actually care about keeping our commander around. Indestructible, Hexproof, Protection, those types of things are great. Malakir Rebirth just says when it dies, you return it to the battlefield. You have to pay 2 life also, but that doesn't really matter all that much. For a 1-drop, it's fine. But the bigger problem is, when it dies, it's going to come back, but it's not going to have the counters. So we kind of lose the advantage we've been building up to that point. Pelaka Protection. I actually don't. Oh, sorry, Predation. I don't remember what this one is. Let me look this one up here. Pelaka Predation. This is one I haven't seen too often, and I don't remember what it was. So let's take a look. Oh, I misspelled it here. Pelaka. Let me just try Pelaka here. It might be actually that I misspelled Pelaka. That seems more likely. Let's just look up Predation, see if we can find this MDFC land. Oh, I guess I did misspell that one. All right, so Pelaka. Let's see if we can find it this way. What is Pelaka Predation? I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I'm not. Well, I gotta put it here to include things I actually don't have. So let's look up Pelaka now. Yeah, we'll look up the other ones here as well. Zoff Consumption. I don't remember that one. Here we go. Pelaka Predation. Oh, this you're gonna get rid of a card from their hand. Yeah, that doesn't seem that great. What about the Zoff Consumption? Zoff. Let's keep going down here, though. I wonder what else we've got. So here's the red ones. Then we got the Turn Timber Symbiosis. Not going to be that helpful because I don't think we're playing that many creatures here. Kazandu Mammoth. I do like the Balaged Recovery, though. Balaged Recovery seems pretty good. Each opponent loses 4 life. Nope, not interested. Balaged Recovery, though, seems really great. One of my favorite of the uncommon ones, the ones that come into play tapped. Even one of my favorites overall of the MDFC lands. So let's look up this one here. Colony Ambush. This one allows you to fight. It would kind of count like a removal spell with our commander that should be pretty big. Let me look it up here. Is it instant speed? That might be the difference between whether I include it or not. So Colony Ambush. Yeah, because instant speed would make a lot of sense. We can get rid of a blocker and then attack. I don't know, one of our lands that seems pretty good. Yeah, it is instant speed. It is 3 mana. I like it. Let's include that one too. All right. Next up, we've got here Windbrisk Heights, Mosswort Bridge, Howltooth. So the Howltooth Hollow, I don't like. I actually really like these hideaway lands. I've been kind of liking them more and more. I don't know why I kind of put them off to the side, but they're really awesome. Mosswort Bridge could actually be pretty helpful here because we only need to have one commander. Like, that's a pretty big creature for the Mosswort Bridge to do its thing. So let's look up that one. Mosswort Bridge. And then I think that's pretty much it. I don't actually want to add anything else in here. Nothing else that I can see looks like it's going to be good for this deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so let's take a look at this one. This is, yeah, total power 10 or greater. We can totally do that. I actually don't have one in my collection, which is interesting. We'll go ahead and add this one in. And now we've got 46 lands, so I've got to actually drop 10 of these Overgrown Tomb, which is fine. I mean, I added them all in to kind of get an idea of how many lands we'll need. So here we're back up to 36, and I think this is a pretty good mana base. Obviously, for the Overgrown Tombs, you can just replace those with whatever you want. If there are any utility lands that you think are not really worth it, then you can replace those. I think out of all of these, we really have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 utility lands, which is exactly the number I'd like to have. And I think everything else, we're looking at a good number here. I've got a couple of Overgrown Tombs up here, but for some reason. All right, so I think mana base were pretty good. Just use whatever color fixing lands you'd like. I'm using Overgrown Tomb here to kind of represent them, but that's the idea here. We're just going to use whichever ones you prefer. So, with that out of the way, what do we want to start off with? I think I'd like to start off first with instants that allow us to give hexproof to our commander. Spot removal is going to be the most common thing that's going to be coming our way, so let's see what options we have in order to put hexproof on our commander. Even temporarily would be nice, but a permanent way to do it, like if they had hexproof counter, I wouldn't mind that at all. So let's look up instant and hexproof. And we'll look up also protection as well, because if we can choose protection from a color, that will also work. So I like all these ideas. We also want to make sure that we're looking up only things that are in our color identity. So let's look up here green and black. It's not going to let me choose black for right now, but that's okay. There's no black cards that can do it. So color identity, only green. I want to also look up things that are colorless too, because there might be some colorless instants. I don't think so, actually. But we'll look it up anyways. All right, so we've got here, let me go down a little bit more. We've got green, and I believe we've got colorless as well. Perfect. Okay, so Snakeskin Veil. Let me do this here. We're not going to show the versions separately. I would like to just look at all the versions, just whichever one they want to show us. That's good enough for me. All right, so Snakeskin Veil against Hexproof until end of turn. I think that's great as a 1-drop. Not bad at all. Ranger's Guile. I like that one as well. 1-drop, give Hexproof. Not a bad idea. You and permanents you control get hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. Kind of limited. It does also protect our spells as well. It's tough, you know. Like, it does draw us a card if we're casting it during the right step. I'm gonna put this in, but we might end up removing it. Just throwing that out there. I'd like to also sort this by the mana value here. I almost said converted mana cost. That's not what we're looking up stuff by now. All right, so Blossoming Defense, I think that's great. Hapatra's Mark, yeah, this is great too. Ranger's Guile, we've already got in the deck. Snakeskin Veil, we've already got in the deck. We have the Veil of Summer in here temporarily. I like the Heroic Intervention. Is also going to work for the indestructible things we'll like to add in a little bit later. Sheltering Word, I think this is great as well. We can also gain some life off of a huge toughness. Now here's where it gets a little bit different. Now we can use 3 mana for a Fog that also protects our commander, but 3 mana, it's hard to hold that up compared to 1 or 2 mana. I like the 1-2 mana options. I think those are good. But the 3 mana options I think are a little bit harder to come by. Unless they can give like hexproof permanently, then I'd be interested. But otherwise, I'm not really that interested. And I just realized something. We can actually use Mutate as something we can include on Sarulf, because we can mutate on Sarulf, make it bigger, and that could work actually. Let me look up some mutate cards here as well. So this is 3 mana, gives +3/+3 in hexproof. I think this is good for right now. I would like to look up mutate first. Let's look up mutate. I want to see what mutate things I can find, and I will include black here as part of the color identity, because I want to make sure that I'm looking up the right cards as well. So black, and that should be it. All right, so let's see what things we can find in green and black. So we've got Mothra's Great Cocoon. Okay, that doesn't actually mutate anything. That doesn't mutate onto anything either. Same thing with this one. What does this one do? Whenever this mutates, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. We give Reach. Yeah, Reach on our commander doesn't seem to be that important. And, you know, putting 2 +1/+1 counters, they're going to be potentially removed anyways, so it's not even going to be a long-lasting effect. What else can we have here? Each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life for X number of times this creature has mutated. It's got Death Touch. that would be a really sweet combo with any trample. So I'm going to include the Death Touch here for right now. Destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. I like this one. It's also giving flying, so that's really important for me here. Next up, we've got Gem Razor. Trample seems great. We can also get rid of some artifacts and enchantments. Yeah, I think Mutate might be the way to go for Sarulf. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. You know what? This is going to be some ramp later on, so I'll put this into a ramp category that we'll look at later. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. You know what? Recursion also seems pretty good, although it's only returning permanent cards. So that might not be as helpful for us here. Let's keep going down and see what else we can find. Each opponent discards a card. It's got Menace, which could be helpful. That could be helpful. I kind of like that one. Let's add that one anyways. Because Menace could allow us to have our commander be unblocked. If there's an opponent who's only got, let's say, two creatures that are untapped, we can destroy one of them, and now our commander is unblockable. I kind of like it. It could be helpful for us. Yeah, this one just seems pretty great. Until you exile X permanent cards where X number of times this creature is mutated. Basically, this is going to be another form of ramp. It's going to be pretty slow at 6 mana, but, you know, ramping. This is also going to give it +3/+3 permanently without being an aura. So I like that one as well. And then here, each opponent sacrifices a creature. That seems great. Now, we have a lot of mutate things. I actually might be interested in going for that previous mutate that I skipped over. Yeah, we can cast things from our opponents. What does this one do? Destructor. Yeah, I mean, this is great. I think we're just going to be including literally every single thing that can mutate, because that's going to give us 10 cards that can mutate onto our commander, and those are going to really synergize really well with each other. So I like that a lot. All right, so we can make our creature bigger with the mutate stuff and get some pretty nice triggered abilities off of that as well. I also want to look up things that can give counters. So I'm going to look up Hexproof counter first, because I've already looked up. I've already looked up Hexproof before, so let's see if we can find anything that gives a Hexproof counter. So this one's not giving a Hexproof counter. This one is a permanent that's going to do that. So I'm looking for things that are non-permanents here, because that's going to be the important thing to look for. Hexproof counter on target creature. This is good. I actually like this one a lot, so we're going to include this one here as well as part of the Hexproof. It is 4 mana, but what we can do, because it has Flash, at the end step before our turn is about to start, we can just cast this out there, put a Hexproof counter onto Sarulf. Don't have to worry about that anymore. So I like that one a lot here. I think that's going to be pretty helpful for us. So next I'd like to look up Indestructible. That's the next thing that is going to be a problem for us. So Indestructible, let's look up Instant first, see what instants we can find, and then we're going to go to the counters. Okay, so let's see if there's anything that we can actually use here. So we've got, this one's white, so that's not going to work. This one is, so we can give Indestructible at an instant speed for 2 mana. I think that's going to be useful. Again, 2 mana is kind of our cutoff. We're going to kind of keep that the same way as we had the other ones. Target creature gains Indestructible until end of turn. Not bad for 1 mana. Seems really great. Withstand Death also seems pretty nice. Oblivion's Hunger. Yeah, you know what? We're going to definitely have counters on our commanders. So we can actually draw a card off of the Oblivion's Hunger as well. Lifelink and Indestructible, so we can gain some life if we need it. I like this. It gives it a +2 buff. What's next here? We can also cycle this one if we don't need it anymore. We've already got the Heroic Intervention in the deck, so we'll consider that one included. This one is also going to be giving Indestructibility. We've got a lot more things that can give Indestructible than Hexproof here, believe it or not. And then here's the 3-drop section. I think at this point, the 3-drop stuff, I'm not that excited about. Although Fated Return is kind of interesting. If our commander, like if we allow it to go to the graveyard, then we can use the Fated Return for 7 mana at instant speed, put it onto the battlefield, and it will gain Indestructible permanently. The downside about this, though, is 7 mana. That's a lot of mana. I don't think you actually want to go for that one. I think that's going to be like way beyond what we're looking for. But let's see if we can get a Hexproof counter onto it. That could be what we're looking for here. So Indestructible counter. Let's go grab some stuff with that. So that one's still not going to count. Don't need that one. This one's pretty interesting. I kind of like the Tyrite Sanctum. Let's add this one in, and then we're going to get rid of one of our utility lands. I think Mosswort Bridge, while it is a really sweet card, it's just going to be, we're going to have to be like winning more in order for that to be working. Like having 7 counters on our commander, that's already pretty good. We don't need any more help from that. But whereas the Tyrite Sanctum, that does seem pretty necessary to give Indestructible to our commander as a land. So this one is going to give Indestructible to itself until end of turn. If I like to Relish, gets Indestructible itself. Let's keep going down here. We've got that one's going to get Indestructible. This is the one I'm looking for, Daring Fiend Bonder. If we exile it from our graveyard, we We can put an indestructible counter on target creature. Yeah, so I like this one. We can cast it out main phase 2. Hope that somebody attacks us. And if nobody does attack us, we might even have some things in here that are going to force us to sacrifice creatures as well. So I like being able to use the Daring Fiend Bonder. If we have to attack with it, because it's got haste, it has to attack each combat Fable, then so be it. But at least we can get it out there for 4 mana on main phase 2, have it as a blocker in case somebody attacks us. And then when it goes to the graveyard, we can then exile and put an indestructible counter on our creature. So I like that one for indestructible. That's enough for that one. I don't think I actually want to dip into any regenerate or anything, but I do want to dip into some protection. Let's look protection from, and then let's look up first instance. And then from there, we're going to go for looking at some things that can give some type of protection counters. I don't think there's anything like that, though. So this is going to be a white spell, so we can't include that one. Protection from artifacts doesn't seem that necessary or helpful for us from here. Yeah, there's nothing for protection. Let's look up things that say protection from counters. I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to give a counter that's going to give protection. And in terms of preventing things from being targeted, I guess we could also dip into Shroud. Let's dip into Shroud too. So let's see what we have in here. I just don't think there's going to be anything that's going to work in that situation. We've got 19 cards, and I don't think any of them are going to do it. What does this thing do? Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't even know if I'm interested in actually looking the rest of these cards. Well, there's only one card left. All right, so nothing here. I was saying let's look for a Shroud. So let's look up Shroud instant, because there might be some good ones for 1, 2 mana. We're not going to be targeting our own creature that often, so this one's 4 mana. That's going to be way too much for us. This is only going to give Shroud to our lands, and I don't think there's anything that gives Shroud counters. Let's see if I'm wrong on that one. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that gives Shroud counters. Nope, 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 and nope. Okay, alright, that's it. Well, I feel pretty good about having the 9, well, technically 10 ways to give indestructible, because we're including the Heroic Intervention. And then the other way, we've got 8 things that can give our things hexproof. So I like all that. We've got 10 mutate spells. I think that's a pretty great start off to this deck. We've got 63 cards in the deck. If we just had these cards, I think I'd be pretty happy. I think what I'd like to do now is make sure that I'm playing some board wipes, make sure that I'm playing some spot removal, some draw, and some ramp. I think all those are going to be pretty important. So let's go ahead and go back to this Google sheet that I have here, and I'm going to start off by looking at the draw. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the right draw here, which is going to be of the type that's going to be the non-repeatable type, because these are all permanents, so that's probably going to work out pretty bad for us. I might get that one later then. In terms of ramp, though, we do have some options. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So I'd like to search this one, green, black, colorless, and let's go also to Golgari. I think Golgari might be an option here. Well, I guess it's not. All right, so we'll say okay. I think I just press. I think that's it. I think we do that. All right. So that's going to give us green and black options. We've got some things that can sacrifice. That will technically count, but I'm more interested in seeing what they're supposed to work around. So Karoo lands, we're not going to play a lot of those in here unless we really want to. We're not going to be playing a lot of creatures, not a lot of self-mill. We will be able to use the Dowsing Dagger. I think with our commander coming down at 3, turn 4 we can go for Dowsing Dagger. It's going to be a 5/4. I don't think people are going to be wanting to block on turn 4. So Dowsing Dagger definitely seems like a good idea here. Dowsing Dagger. We've already got the Migratory Greathorn, which will definitely count as ramp as well. Let's add in the Dowsing Dagger. I think that's going to be a good next one to start off with. Calling Heart Expedition. This one's a little bit of a weird one. We're not playing really a landfall deck, so it might not be as easy to get that cracked. But 2 mana, it comes down. 3 mana, we go for our commander. We've got 1 counter on it. I think on turn 5 we can eventually, crack it and get what we need. I'm gonna leave it right there for right now, though. I want to see if there's anything else that's better. Ooh, Ordeal of Nylea seems perfect. I'll come back to it. If I need to add it in, I will. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's add this one in. And if I need to drop it, then I can definitely do that. Ordeal of Nylea. Because, I mean, it's okay. It's just not that great. But I like Ordeal of Nylea. This is a really nice aura. We'll put counters on our own creature, which is already what we're trying to do. But even more than that, we can actually get counters on Sarulf normally and get the Ordeal of Nylea to crack even faster. So I like that one a lot. Next up, we've got Aristocrats. We're not playing that. We're not playing tokens. Now playing a Fight Club deck. Although, technically, we could be. I just don't think it's going to be that helpful, because it's eventually just going to be a 1-for-1 trade. And black is already being able to get rid of creatures 1-for-1 really easily, so we don't really need to dip into the green thing unless it's doing something else for us, like this Colony Ambush, which is being a land. I like the Sky Shroud Claim. We'll definitely add that one in. Traverse the Uvenwald. That one seems really good here. Because that can be, if we have a big commander, we can then use that one to get a lot of really sweet stuff. So traverse, I'm sorry, not traverse the Uvenwald, traverse the, it's something else. It's traverse the, I can't remember. Traverse the something. Traverse the Outlands. Okay, traverse the Outlands. So I like that one. I also like the circuitous route. Very hard word to say. It's also one of those things that's like, is it circuitous route or circuitous route? It's weird. I feel it's almost like a Sean Bean, right? If it's E-A-N is the ending, you can't say Sean Bon or Sheen Bean. It doesn't make sense. But anyways, you try not to go too off topic here. I like to traverse the Outlands. That one is going to be fantastic for this deck. And then after that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we could technically skip the expeditions, this expedition. 5, right? Is it 4? Yeah, 5. Sword of the Animist. It could grab us 2 lands before we need to pop Sarulf. It could grab us more. I actually kind of like it here, actually. It's going to go away from Sarulf, but that's worth it. If we grab 3 lands off of it, it's still better than some of the other options that we're including anyways. So let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all at 225 being the choice here. We've got only room for 3-4 more cards. So which ones are going to be the best ones to include here? Vastwood Surge allows us to put counters on it if we kick it. So I think that's a pretty easy first choice. Vastwood Surge. I like that one a lot. This only can grab basics or gates. Explosive Vegetation can only grab basics. Hunting Wilds can grab forests. I think that's a reason enough to grab the Hunting Wilds. Hunting Wilds. Migration Path can only grab basics. Rangers, I think this is Ranger's Path. Yeah, Ranger's Path can also grab forests. So let's grab the forest ones. I think that's going to be a really great place to start because we can grab the Overgrown Tomb if we've got it in there. We can grab, depending on what color fixing lands you've got there. If you've got a bayou, you can grab a bayou. If you've got that new snowland from Kaldheim, that's a forest and a swamp, you can grab that one. So it depends on what you want to grab and what cards you include in the mana base. But being able to grab forest, I think, will be a lot more helpful for us here. So Ranger's Path. And that will bring us up to 9. I am going to end up leaving that Calling Heart Expedition because I think that's going to be pretty helpful for us here. So that's it for the ramp. Let's look at the card draw next. And for this one, I'm going to need to go to my browser to do this one. So give me a second while I get everything set up here, and I'll see you back in just a short moment. Alright, so here we are back. I found the Burst card draw list on my Tapped Out channel. Took me a little while to get there, but I didn't want you guys to just watch and not be doing anything. So we're looking for things that are instant speed. That's going to be the best type because being able to hold up instant speed stuff is going to be pretty helpful for us. But there's a lot of blue stuff here. You can even see most of this deck is blue. Like there's more blue things than any other one color. Sometimes even any other 2 colors. So let's go ahead and go down here to blue. So I'm going to scroll down all the way past the comments. If I click on this little blue part, right, now it's going to highlight all the blue cards so I can just skip them because I know there's not in my color identity. That's going to be a lot more helpful here. That's one of the reasons why I like Tapped Out a lot. So we've got Commune with Lava, which is a red spell. We've got Skeletal Scrying, which is a black spell. That's going to require us to exile cards from our own graveyard. We don't have a lot in our own graveyard to actually use with that one. We like Hunter's Insight, Momentous Fall, and Return of the Wild Speaker. Now, these are technically instant speed, but some of them are going to be counting on us dealing combat damage. So I'm not going to include those for right now, or maybe I will just include them and then just drop them if I don't like them later on. Hunter's Insight is going to be the first one. They started doing this a while back. I don't know if they've still done it. Return of the Wild Speakers from Eldraine, so I guess they're still kind of doing this. But caring about the total power on a creature to turn it into card draw on green spells. Yeah, that's definitely something that they can do. This one is like one of the ones I'm thinking like, it's okay. But if you need to have more cards in the hand, I guess that you're going to need that no matter what. Momentous Fall, I might not include this one because I think this one you have to sacrifice the creature. And we obviously don't want to sacrifice Sarulf here. Yeah, we're not wanting to sacrifice Sarulf here at all. Return of the Wild Speaker. This one seems pretty nice. Return of the Wild Speaker, let's go ahead and get that one in the deck as well. This one I think is a lot easier to use. Because you just draw equal to the power. And it's just simple. We're going to skip past the cards that were not included in our deck. We've got the sorcery speed things. I'm going to come back to that, see if we actually want to include those. But it looks like the rest of the deck is sorcery speed, actually. So, just double check. Yeah, everything else here is sorcery speed. So, let's go ahead and start dipping into some of the sorcery speed things. So, we got past the instant speed stuff. Sorcery speed. Alright. We've got a red spell with Act on Impulse. Ambition's cost is pretty nice. That's a way to draw, I think it's 3 cards for 4 mana and I think like 3 life. So it's not that bad. Yeah, draw 3, lose 3 for 4 mana on a sorcery. Not bad. What else we got here? Ancient Craving basically does the same thing. It's not that much different. There are a couple of cards that are just like kind of just generic designs that they can put on all sorts of different type of cards. Here, yeah, same thing. Does the same exact thing. Next thing we've got is Demonic Lore. I think this might be one of the 5-drop cards. And I'd like to try to avoid going for too many 5-drops, but if I have to, I will. So we're going to lose 2 life for each card in our hand. We actually, hold on a second. So we can use Demonic Lore on purpose, get it out there, and then use the Sarulf to get rid of it. So that is kind of nice. But that does kind of slow us down. If we're trying to count on that, I don't like the Demonic Lore here too much, actually. Escape to the Wilds. Let's look up that one. Escape to the Wilds. Sometimes I don't remember some of these cards, and I don't remember that one. Escape to the Wilds. Let's see what you do. It's not actually in here. Let me take a look at this one in a new tab. So, oh, this is a red-green one. Okay, so I don't actually want to include that one. That's why I didn't pop it, because it's not black and green. Harmonize is obviously a good one. That one is, you know, a pretty ubiquitous, very heavily played card in Commander, so we're going to add that one into the deck as well. Basically what we're doing already, but now we don't have to lose the 3 life. So, never a bad idea. Liliana's Contract is the next thing that's in our color identity. Now, this one is technically a permanent, but it has an ATB, and then that's it. We don't really care about it anymore. We're not playing any demons in this deck. I don't think any at all. Are we playing any here with the mutate stuff? That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. Yeah. That's a human. Alright, so, yeah, we're not playing any demons in here, but we're going to be able to draw 4 and lose 4 and be pretty happy with that. I think that's going to be just fine. Peer into the Abyss. I'm interested in this one. I feel like I've seen this one before, and I've looked at it, I'm like, man, I'd love to have that deck to add that one into, and I just never could find it. Peer into the Abyss. Oh, this is 7 mana. I think that's a little bit too expensive for my taste. And then we're going to lose a lot of life for that, too. That sounds more like a combo piece here. Although, I'm sure there's some decks that want to include that one as well. Promise of Power is one that I like a lot. I think we can actually draw 5 cards off of that. And we are including a couple more of the 5-drop draw that I'd like to include normally. Like, currently we've got 3 in here. So I'll probably go up to 11 card draw to make up for the fact that I'm including so many that are really expensive. Let's go ahead and go here to the next one. Promise of Power, we got that one. Pygmy Kavu. What in the world is this one? Pygmy Kavu. I don't remember this one at all. And then next one's going to be the Showdown of the Skulls. This one's a Boros card, but Siphon Mind I do remember. That one makes everybody discard a card. Draw a card for each black creature your opponents control. That one's an interesting one. So if we're seeing somebody playing like a bunch of tokens, we can actually use the Pygmy Kavu and have that come around and draw us a bunch of cards. Very like dependent on what our opponents are playing, but could be pretty good. I'd say it's worth testing out. I would say for sure. Test it out, see if it's worth it or not. And then Siphon Mind I think is going to be pretty good here. Another way to draw 3 for 4 mana, but this time we don't have to pay the 3 life. We actually get to make each of our opponents discard a card on top of that, so that's pretty sweet as well. And that's like assuming that everybody's got a card in hand or more, which is pretty much easily guaranteed in Commander. Next one we've got the plus and counter theme cards. I do like having something that says plus and counter theme on it, because that is something we're trying to do with this deck. Let's look at Armorcraft Judge. The issue is sometimes these cards are going to be caring about lots of creatures having counters, as opposed to one creature just having a lot of counters here. Yeah, each creature you control with the plus one counter on it. Not going to work here. Parting Thoughts. This sounds like it's going to be something about our commander leaving, so I don't want to include something that's going to count on that one. Destroy target creature. Yep, definitely not something I would like to include. Aristocrats theme is not us. We're not playing a creature theme. We're not playing a deck with 3 more colors. We're not playing an Enchantress theme. We're not playing a giant commander. I literally typed giant. We're not playing a monocolor deck. We're not playing a non-token creature theme. We're not playing a sacrificable anything theme. We're not playing self-mill. We're not playing tokens or snow. We're not playing tribal giants, and we're not playing tribal or vampires. So we only have 9 cards in the card draw section, and unfortunately, I think that's going to have to be the limit. I don't think we can include anything else. And technically, a lot of these are pretty expensive. Hopefully, we'll have the ramp in order to help them out, and maybe even using the Sarulf to get rid of some permanents might allow us to kind of get there in a little bit of a slower way. But that's it, I think. I don't think we're going to be able to go anything else for card draw. So we got the ramp, we got the card draw. Let's do the board wipes now. And board wipes are pretty simple. We can actually use that again with our with this Excel sheet that I've got here. So I got to go to my board wipe section. This one is not fully finished out yet. I keep putting it off, but I will eventually get around to it, I promise. So we're going to go here and add in black and Golgari. So Golgari right there. And yeah, let's say okay here. So we're gonna go ahead and filter those out. So I like here Decree of Pain. That's always a classic. Boom Pile. How can I not include that one? Toxic Deluge and Crux of Fate. So I like Toxic Deluge. This one seems pretty nice because if we got our commander pretty big, and then there are some other creatures out there that are also pretty big but not as big as our commander, we can then use this type of card to, like, let's say our Sarulf is a 10/10, right? We can say pay 9 life off the Toxic Deluge, get rid of everything else. Our commander sticks around. Yes, it'll be a 1/1 when it attacks. That's not great for us, but it's not bad. So yeah, I kind of like the Toxic Deluge here. So let's add in those 3 for sure, and then we'll add in some more cards after that. Green doesn't really have a whole lot of options for us, so we'll probably not be including that one. But I like the Boom Pile. That's a great way to kind of reset the board. We also have our commander being a board up. I think we might be okay with just having 3 here. But I like those ones that we found. You know what? I think so. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to have just 3 in the deck and be pretty happy with not having anything else here in there. Especially that, well, if we can board up everything except for our commander, then we can have that grow a bit, a lot bigger too. So I like the Toxic Deluge. You know what? That might actually be part of the interactions for this deck. So yes, we could go fewer board wipes, but if we find any board wipes that can just one-sidedly board wipe, we can make our commander really big from a board wipe like that. So let's take a look here. Crux of Fate, that's not going to work. Damnation is not going to work. Extinction Event is also not going to work. Nightmare in Making, Oblivion Stone, Endemic Plague. That picks a creature type, I believe. Perilous Vault. You know, Kagemaru might be interesting because that requires us to have a lot of cards in hand, but I don't think we can reliably have a lot of cards in hand where we can count on that being, you know, to work exactly the way we want it to. The Great Aurora, All Is Dust, Gaze of Granite. It's not going to work that well because our commander is going to be pretty small. Pernicious Deed, same problem there. Extinguish All Hope. Yeah, there's not a whole lot here. There is, however, 2 cards that I can think of off the top of my head. Plague Wind and Garruk's, what is it? Garruk's, in Garruk's Wake, I think. Yeah, so here's a 9-drop. Really expensive, but we don't really need a bunch of cheap board ups anyways. We got our commander. So the other one here is in Garruk's Wake. Is it Garruk or Garrick? I think it's Garrick. I don't know. I'll figure it out. You guys will let me know down in the comments, right? I assume. So let's go and get down the in Garruk's Wake into the deck as well. So that's going to be a one-sided board wipe also. So Life's Finale. Ichor Explosion. What in the world does this one do? Ichor Explosion. I feel like I've heard of this one, but I can't remember what it is. So Deathbringer Regent, in Garruk's Wake, we already got that one in here. Black Sun Zenith. I don't like this one because it actually makes our commander permanently smaller. Plague Wind we've already got in here. Apex Altasaur. This one can be one-sided as well. Let's add that one also. This one we have to sacrifice a creature. Not going to be what we're looking for here. Let's go ahead and grab the Apex Altasaur, because this one is pretty nice. It comes down to the 10/10. We can fight something, and then every time it's dealt damage, we get to fight again. So that would be really sweet with our board wipe. So we can get it down. Let's say we attack the smallest creatures and kind of build it up, and that would allow our Apex Altasaur to eventually be just like a full-blown board wipe for us here. We got Sarulf in the deck as well. Plague Boiler doesn't seem that great. I do like the Oblivion Stone because we can put a fate counter on our commander at instant speed and then pop it to sacrifice it and destroy all other non-land permanents. So I like that one as well. That's going to bring us up to 7 board wipes here. Really only 2 of them are the cheaper ones. And that's fine with us because we got our commander as a cheap board wipe as well. Bane of the Living. This one morphs, so we can unmorph it and pay a bunch of mana. But it's kind of tough to do. So let's say we wanted to give -6 to everything, and we have it in hand. We have to morph it out there for 3 mana, and then pay 8 mana to flip it up and give it -6 to every other creature. So that's a little bit tough. That's going to be a total of, what, 11 mana on a board wipe, which I guess is technically, well, you know what? Let's add it in there. Bane of the Living. We're already this far. Let's go ahead and add in an 8th one, right? What's the difference between 7 and 8? And, We can also just morph it on one turn and then unmorph it on the next turn. So we don't have to go for the 3 mana right away. I like that one. I think that would be pretty nice. Okay, so we've got the board ups. We've got room for 12 more cards in here. And I think what I'd like to include are cards that are going to make our commander lethal in one shot. So for this one, we're going to go back to Scryfall here. We really haven't actually done anything with Scryfall up to this point. So let's go ahead and actually start looking up stuff on Scryfall. So we're going to look up things that are in our color identity. So green and black. We're going to look up things that can give +X+0. I think that's what I'd like to start off with. So +X, and then we'll look up like that. Because we actually don't necessarily need it to be +X+0 or +X. Or it can be +X-X for all we care, and we'd still be okay. I think we'd be just fine with that. If this is not going to be good enough, I think the next thing I'd like to look up is going to be cards that can allow us to have to make each opponent sacrifice things. I think that's going to be the next thing to look for. So we actually want to make sure that we're getting rid of things that are like, it's either got to be a non-permanent. So we'll say either is non-permanent, permanent, if I can spell, or we're looking for things that are, you know, have an ETB or leave the battlefield effect. So enter, leave. These are like, well, I guess leave is not a good one. But enter or sacrifice, I think it would be a nice one. Because if we have, it's like a creature that enters the battlefield, then we can sacrifice it and make something bigger. That's good enough for me too. So let's look up enter or sacrifice. So we've got Finale of Devastation. That one doesn't seem that great for me because we're going to have to pay a bunch of mana in order to make that work. We can double up our commander with Overwhelming Stampede for 5 mana. I do like that one. Let me go ahead and sort this by CMC because we're not really, you know, there's 38 options here. We're not really interested in that, you know, too much of a difference here. Trample until end of turn. Destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. Well, Berserk will work out really well with all of our creatures, all of our cards that can gain indestructible. So I like the Berserk here. Berserk. So that should be a pretty nice one. Blood Curdling. I can't read the rest of that one. I think it says Circrum. This one is kind of an idea that I've been kind of looking for. If we're going to be, you know, giving +5, for example, to our commander, we don't want to be paying 5 mana to do that. I think the lower the CMC for the things that we can give pluses to our commander, the better. So we're going to go for Berserk. Here it is. Berserk, adding it in there. So this is going to be making our commander pretty big, hopefully. Next up, we're going to skip past this one. That's not going to give it too much here. That's all the same thing as the previous one. This is going to be revealing green cards from our hand. This one is, it allows us to fight with a creature, but it's still pretty expensive for not very much. This is revealing. This is an X-costed card. X is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Well, we're not going to have that many creature cards in our graveyard anyways, so it doesn't really matter. X number of verse counters on War Dance. That's really slow. Elves in play. This is too expensive. That one doesn't really do what we want it to do. Number of creature cards in your graveyard. We're not going to have that many. This itself gets +X+0. 3+ number of Muscle Burst. We're not going to be playing multiple Muscle Bursts in a commander deck. X is its own power. This is number of creature cards in your graveyard. Number of attacking creatures. This is itself. Number of cards in your hand. I mean, technically, if we have 7 cards in hand, Inner Calm, Outer Strength is going to be nice because we can give +7/+7. But that seems so unlikely. I still will include it just for the options, but I'm not entirely sure I'd like it in the full, like in the final deck list. It might be one of those cards that you have to really keep a close eye on in testing to see if it's actually worth including or not. Next things here: sacrifice a creature at the end step. That's not what we're looking for. Number of creature cards in your graveyard. Devotion to green. We're not gonna have a lot of devotion in this deck. Highest converted mana cost among permanents you control. We're not going to have high converted mana cost. Hatred is like the card that I was thinking about. Hatred seems really good for this deck. I also like the Overwhelming Stampede, even though it's supposed to be used to give it to a bunch of creatures. You know, there's nothing that says we can't use it on just one. So Overwhelming Stampede, just going to be like another version of Berserk. Or Inner Calm, or not Inner Calm, but it's going to be another version of Berserk here. Which also gives Trample, which is kind of nice. We actually might need to find a spot for that, actually. I realize now we probably need to find some cards that can give our creature some ways to get around blockers. That might be pretty important here. The board ups I like because they're also going to buff up our creatures, so we don't have to worry about having too few of these. But is that really all that I wanted to go for? Do I end up dropping the mutate ability? How many of these things will make our commander bigger? So we've got 1, 2, this one's 3, 4, this one technically, yeah, 5, 6, that also counts. This one just gives the evasion, I still like that one. This one also gives death touch. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it kind of seems silly, but I think the mutate's actually the better way to go for it because most of these are making our commander bigger. And then it's also giving sometimes a lot of evasion, so we don't need to worry about having the instant speed evasion. And that actually might work out better for us anyways, because those are going to be permanents that even if we do have to get rid of the counters on Sarulf, we're still going to have that evasion on there. So we don't have to worry about it being an aura or something along those lines. I do like, there is one card I'd like to add in before I continue on. There's only one card that I know of that before they introduce this like counter thing, there is Ride the Dilu Horse. That's a card that I saw a long time ago, and essentially gives a horsemanship counter to your commander. I'm not seeing it here. Let's try horsemanship. Let's see what we can find here. It's a 3-drop sorcery from one of those portal cards. Let's keep going down here. So Strength of Cedars is another copy of the Inner Calm, but this one's 5 mana. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the number of lands you control. That actually might work because we're using a lot of ramp. Yeah, here we go. Riding the Dilu Horse. That's what it was. So giving it +2/+2 at sorcery speed and horsemanship seems great. Yes, we'll put that into its own category. Strength of Cedars. I actually think this is going to be pretty nice because we can find ourselves in a situation where we do have 10 lands out there. We can give that +10 to our commander for 5 mana. That seems really nice. So Devotion to Green we're not going to have. Target creature gains vigilance and +X/+X until end of turn, where X number of creature cards in your graveyard. We're not gonna have a lot. We're not gonna have a whole lot of creatures. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We've got room for 6 more cards with Sarulf. So the question is, what do we actually want to do with this? We can do a couple of things. Do we want to do some more things that can make? You know what? I do like something here. Let's do this. Each opponent sacrifices. We don't have spot removal in here. We have to have 6. That actually would be just enough. So let's do spot removal as the final category here. Because we want to be able to get rid of artifacts and enchantments. We do have a commander that can get rid of them, but having the option to get rid of that. Oh, but you know what? Do we want to play Oubliette? Do we want to play the other card here, which is, I can't remember the name of it here, Song of the Dryads. Because normally those are pretty nice, because you can get rid of opponents' commanders more or less permanently, but that turns off our ability to use the last ability on Sarulf. So maybe that's not going to be as helpful for us, actually. Maybe. I do want to keep adding some spot removal at instant speed, but let's see what we can find at instant speed that can get rid of multiple permanents, because that's going to work really well with Sarulf. So that's going to be kind of the game plan here. We're going to go back to the Excel sheet. We're going to say that this is okay. Let's go to the spot removal section here. So targeted removal. Let's go ahead and include some black spells as well. So black and Golgari. Here it is. And we'll go ahead and filter for those. Alright, so at the very top we've got Deadly Rollick. Well, that does seem like it makes a lot of sense here. It's not going to trigger Sarulf though, so I'm going to skip over it for now. I do like the Assassin's Trophy. That seems great. Assassin's Trophy. This one's pretty nice because it can get rid of anything, and it will trigger Sarulf. So I like that one a lot here. We're just going to look through all of them, because you have no idea what's going to be nice and what's not going to be. Because we might find some more things that can get rid of multiple permanents that would normally not be as helpful as some of these cheaper options, but in this situation actually would be. Next up, we've got the Snuff Out, which I do like a lot. Snuff Out. Next up here on the black, we've got Deadly Alliance. I don't remember which one this one is, but let's take a look at this one as well. Deadly Alliance. What do we got there? Next up, we've got here Nature's Claim. I think that one's a pretty good one. Each creature in your party. Well, we're not going to have a lot of creatures in our party, so that's not going to be helpful for us. But Nature's Claim will be nice. For 1 mana to be able to destroy an artifact or enchantment, that's always nice. Sundering Vitae is also kind of cool. Let's take a look at that one here as well. Sundering Vitae. I think this is one of the 2-drop options, so it might actually be better to use Naturalize, which, oh, that's not even the next one here. So this one's, oh, Convoke. So yeah, we're not playing a lot of cheaper creatures here. This could technically be one of those like free naturalizes if you have enough tokens out there. But right now, it's not gonna be good in this deck. I do like the next one we're gonna look up here is Mob. I think it's the same thing. It's also Convoke card. Murderous Cut. We're not gonna be having a lot of cards in our own graveyard to get rid of. I think Mob is like the Convoke one. Yeah, here it is, Convoke. Let's look at the one after that. So Tragic Slip here. Nightmare's Thirst. That one I think cares about the number of cards in your hand. So let's look up Nightmare's Thirst, and then the next one here after that is going to be Tragic Slip. That one's going to care about creatures dying. I don't think we're going to have that many creatures dying, because especially that our commander is going to be exiling them if we ever need to use that. We're not playing a life gain deck. Malicious Affliction. Let's take a look at this one. Malicious. We actually haven't included the Beast Within that we saw up earlier here. I think it's right here. Yeah, Beast Within. So we'll want to include that one first. I just want to double check what the Malicious Affliction is. When you cast a spell, if a creature dies this turn, you may copy it and choose a new target. Again, we can't guarantee that Morbid's going to be online for us. So in that case, instead, we're going to go for the Beast Within. And I think we're in a pretty good spread of spot removal. We've got one way to deal with artifacts or enchantments. One way to deal with any non-black creature here with a Snuff Owl. Then we can deal with one of anything with the Assassin's Trophy, and also one with anything with the Beast Within. So now I'd like to look to see what things we can grab that can get multiple cards. And I think the way I've got it set up here, it may not be that way. Yeah, let's go back down to, where was I at? Malicious Affliction, Return to Nature is one card. Curtain's Call, I believe, is one card, but one creature. Curtain's Call, let's take a look at that one. Next up, we've got Oxidize, that's just one. Vendetta is just one. Necrotic Wound, I don't remember what that one is. And it looks like Curtain's Call did not come up. It might be a card that's not available on Magic Online, so I want to look that one up on Scryfall real quick. Curtain's Call. Let's see what we can find. Destroy 2 target creatures. Undaunted, so that would make it, let's see, it goes from 6 down to 3. Destroy 2 target creatures. I like that one. Do I like it more than Snuff Out? Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, I like that more than Snuff Out. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I also like, let me see here if I can find something that says like multiple creatures. So we're going to look up things here that says destroy, and then we're going to say creatures. And then I also want to find things that are instants. So let's see what we can find here with the Curtain's Call. And it's also still sorted by CMC. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so those two don't count. Destroy all creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. Destroy 2 target non-black creatures. I like Reckless Spite as well. Reckless Spite. Let's add in that one. I will drop the Snuff Out. And you know what? I guess I'll technically drop the Beast Within, because that's also 3 mana. Let's add in the Reckless Spite, and we'll add in a second copy of it to represent the Curtain's Call as well. Destroy all target creatures that were blocked. Regenerate all creatures, or destroy all creatures that were blocked by that creature. We've got this one here. Destroy all creatures of that type that player controls. That's 6 mana, though. That's a little bit too expensive. I feel pretty happy about using the Reckless Spite and the Curtain's Call. I think those will be pretty nice. So we've got room for 2 more cards, and that is it. It's a tough one. Do I want to include some of my favorite types of cards? I like Opposition Agent a lot. So I usually look to that as a card to add in if I'm playing a black deck. But I don't think it's actually going to be that good here, because it's going to turn off our ability to use our commander unless somebody's like, well, I mean, it's a tutor. Maybe we just go for the 2 tutors. You know what? Actually, I kind of like that one here. Let's go Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. Having 2 additional tutors here shouldn't be too big of a problem. And that's going to be it for this deck. I mean, we've got it all the way up to... actually, no, we're up by 1. Vampiric Tutor. The 2 tutors here are definitely good. So, I'm not going to drop those. I think that'd be silly to drop those 2 cards. I think having the 4 spot removal, it seems pretty nice. I like all of these cards. Although the Strength of Cedars and the Inner Calm, Outer Strength, these 2 cards, I'm like so on. Let me think about this one. So we need to have a lot of cards in hand for the Inner Calm to work. And I don't think we're going to do that. Whereas having a lot of lands, we're playing a green deck. Seems pretty simple. Let's get rid of the Inner Calm here. And that's going to bring it up to 100 cards exactly. If I right click here, it says deck contains cards not in your collection, too many copies of a card, and then versions of a card not in your collection. So that's it. We've got all the 99 cards here in the mana base, or sorry, in the deck itself, in the 99. So yeah, that is it for this deck doctor for Casey Spark, one of my patrons over at patron.com. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see me do a deck doctor on one of your decks, consider being a patron at patreon.com/magicalhacker. I appreciate all the support that I get from all my patrons. Obviously, if you just want to enjoy the content, it's here for free. and I enjoy making it, but I also enjoy doing personalized content like this for my patrons. So thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. Thank you especially to Casey Spark for supporting me over at Patreon, and I will see you all next time. Stay awesome, everybody. Actually, just kidding. I realized something before I left this page. I can look up things that double up counters. Like, that would be a great idea, right? Why would I not go for that? Like, for example, the Solidarity of Heroes, 2 mana, double up the counters on Sarulf. That seems pretty good. I mean, it's going to be kind of a more or less permanent, additional buff. So I'd like to drop the Cedar of Strength, or the Strength of Cedars. I mean, so anything that's not instant speed, I feel like is going to be a good way to drop. So Berserk, instant speed, pretty nice. Hatred is instant speed, that's also nice. Overwhelming Stampede, not that great. Sorcery speed, 5 mana. This one's instant speed, so I like that one. I think the Overwhelming Stampede I'd like to drop. Solidarity of Heroes, that one seems pretty nice. So let's add in this one. And I want to see if there's anything else here at instant speed. We got an aura that when it enters, oh, I'm sorry, at the upkeep, you double it up. That's okay. Not that great here. This is instant speed. Yeah, I like the Invigorating Surge as well. Let's add in this one. Let's add in Invigorating Surge. Invigorating Surge. I'd like to drop the Strength of Cedars for this one. Because even though this is nice, we have a bunch of lands, we can, give a buff to our creature. Invigorating Surge is going to be more or less permanent. So I like that one as well. Maybe not necessarily a permanent effect, but for 3 mana instant speed, we can maybe attack multiple opponents, over the course of a couple of turns that we're not using Sarulf's last ability. So I feel a lot happier about using that one here. Beginning of your end step, double the number of growth counters on Paradox Zone. Then create a token. Yeah, that's not even what we're looking for here at all. Biogenic Upgrade. We can use it, put 3 counters on Sarulf, and then double up the counter. But 6 mana is just too much. I like the Invigorating Surge. That's 3 mana. So I feel a lot happier with where we're at now. We just made a small little change here, dropping 2 cards, adding in 2 other cards. But I feel pretty happy about that. I think that will be pretty nice. So now, for real this time, see you guys later, and stay awesome.